So the wife is missing. What the fuck is the husband doing during this time? Is the husband trying to blow her phone up? Is the husband looking for her? Even after he went to the hospital and so-called found out that his wife was checked into the hospital, he didn't think to go and look to see if that was her. He didn't think to call her phone, her cell phone, nothing. What the hell was the husband doing during this time? It seems to me that his behavior is awkward for somebody whose wife is missing. He said that the night before they had argued about the tax return. They were arguing about money. Okay, the night before she went missing. He said that when they got home, he decided to leave and go take the car out for a drive, and he went and got some gas. See, that's a time slot right there, because he leaves the house and returns. That's a time slot right there for something to have transpired, or for something to be transpiring during the time. That's a time slot. He leaves the house and comes back. They had an argument about money that same night. He had the nerve to say, after the Air Force turned him loose from his mental evaluation, and he was detained again by police for tampering with evidence, he had the nerve to say on camera, "I love my family." That just lets you know that just because you speak words don't make them true. Why did he tear the receipt up from the department store where he bought these items that they found in his car? Oh, it's nothing. People tear receipts up all the time. Okay. And not only was the blood on the jeans matched to the wife, but so was blood they found on the hammer. That too matched the wife. What did I say at the beginning? Check the husband. You gotta check the spouse. You have to check the spouse. I don't give a damn. You have to check the spouse. You have to clear the spouse first. Because who would have had access to her at any given time? It would have been the husband. It would have been the husband. And for him to claim he had no idea where she was or what was going on with her from the very beginning. Oh my gosh. He said after they had like the head clash, that she ran to the bathroom and cut the light on. Remember, that's why I said that's what he's saying as to why the blood was on the light switch. That after she saw that she was bleeding, that she attacked him and began punching him. And he was ducking, trying to duck or whatever. And he said something about he was able to trip her up and make her fall. And when she was on the ground, at that point, she was no longer a threat. And that's what, if we're going by his self-defense, the moment he said he tripped her and she fell to the ground, she was no longer a threat to him. Because he was standing and she was no longer standing. If it was really self-defense, why didn't you get out of there? Why didn't you leave? Because at that moment when you tripped her and she fell, you made the choice to kick her. Because he said when she fell, he kicked her twice. You only kicked her twice and she ended up with a broken rib. And you said after the second kick, you heard wheezing. But then you heard footsteps. The footsteps of, he said he heard the footsteps of his daughter. He went to go check on her. And when he came back, the wife was dead. He said that he took her body out of the house. He took her body out of the house and drove her to that farm field to dump her body. He stripped her naked and returned home to burn her clothing. What? So you waited until you got her out of the house and at this dumping ground that you took her to strip her naked? So you stripped her naked when she got there. And instead of you burning the clothes there, you brought the clothes back to the house to burn them? What was the point of that? If you already had her body out of the house, what was the significance in stripping her body naked? Why did you strip her body naked? Is it because you wanted to get rid of DNA evidence? Why did you strip her body naked? What was the point of you stripping her body naked? So you say. What was the point of you taking her clothes back to the house to burn them? Why did you take her clothes? What was significant about her clothes? Why did she need to be naked? This shows you how much love and care this man had for his wife, that he is claiming is dead because of self-defense. This man had nerve to conjure up a story after he was arrested when they found his wife's body. He was arrested about 48 hours later, and during the time that he was in prison, in jail, waiting for his trial to take place, don't you know that gives him the ample amount of time to conjure up a story that fits to the evidence that they've already presented that they know? Because let me tell you what a strategic mind does. It's going to think about all the little things. It's going to try to cover all the details So if an investigator gives a suspect enough information or key information, he's going to take that information and he's going to analyze it and come up with the best scenario of events that covers everything that the investigators have that they know about. That's why it's even more crucial to an investigation for investigators not to divulge everything to a suspect. But the problem is that the courts have made it, or the laws have made it, so that whatever evidence the prosecution has on a defendant, they have to turn over to the defense. So if a person doesn't start talking, they're closed down before the information, the evidence is turned over to the defense, you're less likely to get the truth. You're more likely to get a story. Because now they know what you know. And the husband did exactly that. He shut down before the trial. He refused to talk to investigators. He waited until the defense had all the information that the prosecution had and used to build their case. Once that was done, I'm sorry, y'all. Once that was done, and he knew everything that they had against him, then he decided to talk. Because if you look at this, the 48 Hours episode that I'm watching, they said it was a certain date where he decided to come out and start talking. He told his mother a story. He told the wife's family a story. And he came in the courts and told that story to the jury. But see, as much as he tried to make his story fit to the evidence that he had, there were still, to me, things that didn't make sense. How can you say, when they asked him about the hammer, because he came into the courts and his defense was self-defense. He said the entire situation that happened was brought about because of the wife's initiation. That the wife started this. Of course he's going to say that. She's not here to defend herself. When you make a self-defense claim against somebody who's not here to defend themselves, you're already steps ahead here. It's unfortunate, but this person is not here to defend themselves. I'm still going to question the self-defense, because if it was self-defense, why didn't you say that in the beginning? If it was self-defense, it would have been self-defense in the beginning. If it was, if it was self-defense, why did you not say anything earlier? I don't believe that. It wasn't self-defense. Because he attempted to hide everything. And it could have been a situation where he was scared. He didn't know what to do. But his actions didn't say he was scared of anything. He was out and about when he posted bond. He was running his wife's businesses, going about his day normally, and did not one time assist in the search for his wife. He already knew where she was. He already knew where she was. It wasn't self-defense. And he's lying. And the reason why he was able to spin this narrative after deciding not to talk to the police during the entire investigation, which he would have been advised by his lawyers to do, not talk. He had the nerve to take over all the information that had to be given to the defense. Anything that the prosecution uses has to be given to the defense. He hasn't talked all this time and decides to talk after the information was given. Now he has the details to work with, because now he knows what they know. And he has to make the self-defense claim stick. He has to make it sound plausible based on the evidence that the prosecution has given. That's why he decided to talk after and not before, because he wanted to know what they knew, what they had against him. And once he found that out, then he could create a story to try and cover the scenario and make all the pieces fit that the investigation uncovered. But his self-defense claim said nothing. He said nothing about the hammer that was found wrapped up in his clothes in a trash bag bin in the garage that had blood on it. The blood that was on his pants. He didn't make mention of how that got there. What he said was they were fighting. He said they did like I guess he was trying to say they did like a headbutt thing. And she ran to the bathroom because I guess she must have felt herself bleeding or something. I don't know. This is his story. She ran to the bathroom. That's how the blood got on the light switch in the bathroom. Because she ran to the bathroom after getting headbutted. They headbutted. He said they headbutted. He didn't say he hit her. He said they headbutted. I don't believe that either. But she ran to the bathroom. And that's how the blood stain got on the light switch in the bathroom. he said that he was kicking her. He kept kicking her and kicking her. That's how she got the bruise on her. Because remember, there's a coroner's report too. Autopsy had to be done. And he ruled it a homicidal something or another. But blunt force trauma was in there. Blunt force was in there. It was in that autopsy. Okay? And so the husband's way of coming up with something to explain that was when he said he was kicking the wife. He was kicking the wife while she was on the ground. That's how she got the bruised rib. I am telling y'all, what he did was wait. He waited. When he shut down from the police and refused to cooperate with them and answer their questions, it's because he did not want to assist them in their investigation for whatever they would find. He didn't want to assist them with any of that because it went against what he was trying to do, which was keep hidden what actually happened. What did I say? To protect himself. He was protecting himself. He can't protect himself if he's assisting the police. And the only reason you do that is if you know something that you've done, an action you've done contributed to an issue. Otherwise, there wouldn't be no need to protect yourself from the police. So he was protecting himself. He was not about to assist the police in anything. And all of this was because instead of him helping or possibly giving them information that could assist them in their investigation, he'd rather wait and see what they find out on their own. He waited to see what they found out on their own. Then, once their investigation was done, they had then collected everything that they believed they needed. At that point, whether he knew it or whether the lawyers told him, his lawyers told him, they have to turn over all the evidence against him that the prosecution is going to use in court. They have to. It's not a choice. So this is strategic. Okay? This is strategic. He waited until their investigation was done, and he knew that the report everything they had to be turned over to the defense attorneys. He knew he was going to have access to that. So he would be able to see everything that they were able to uncover and find, so that he would have the details to create his story. These are not all included. The details that he gave was not all included. He only gave information on what was reported from the police. So even the mothers, the families that he finally decided to give a story to don't know the complete story. That is not the complete story. I'm telling you, it is not. He only talked about what was revealed. That's it. Which is not the full story. So in my opinion, and from what I can see and what I have heard from this 48 hours, he's still hiding shit, and there was no self-defense on his part. It was not self-defense. You cannot reasonably attack someone and expect them not to attack back. And from his own mouth, he said that they were fighting. They were both defending themselves against the other. That's what fighting is. But only one of them can speak on self-defense. Because he made sure that if he did get caught, he could be the only one to tell the story. There was no threat to what really happened if he's the only survivor. You understand? This was not self-defense. He's spitting that to y'all in the courts, but there was no self-defense. This was not self-defense. He went to too much trouble to stay silent. He was silent up until the time that the information the police had gathered was turned over to the defense attorneys. No. Because he only spoke about in his self-defense claim to the jury, he only spoke about what was in the court document. And when they asked him, when he gave the story, he said nothing about the hammer. He said nothing about the clothes that he had on. He said nothing about him going to the department store to purchase these items. But he did say he didn't want his daughter to find her mother on the floor dead. Because he knew, he said in the courts that he realized that the wife was dead. And he didn't want the daughter to find the wife like that. That's why he decided to move the body, the wife's body. He's painting himself as the person who realized he went too far. He may have went too far and decided to clean up his mess. Like he decided that he did something good in the end. When he's talking about removing the wife's body before the daughter could see anything. Doesn't that sound like somebody who is pleading? To me it does. That's what it sounds like. Pleading with you to believe him. That despite the bad, he did good. But when all these strangers was looking for his missing wife, he was nowhere around. He didn't bother to help. He wasn't showing any type of distress in her absence. He went to the hospital and asked if a Mcdonald had checked in. And when he found out that a Mcdonald had checked in, he left. A concerned spouse would not have done that. You know how many McDonald's are out there? Why would you go into a hospital and ask for McDonald's instead of asking for the complete name of a person? Then to find out McDonald checked in but not go see or check on her to see if it's her? No. You have to pay attention to people. Not just what they're saying, but what they're doing. You have to pay attention. Because in this situation, his actions spoke more than his words. In this situation, it was strategic. Everything he did was strategically done. Up into the trial, everything was strategic. When they asked him, like I said, he didn't speak about the hammer when he was telling the story. He didn't speak about the hammer at all. He didn't say anything about the hammer. He didn't even mention throwing his clothes in the trash bin. Why was the need for him to wrap his clothes up in that hammer and throw it in the trash bin? He said nothing about that when he gave his story. After his story, when prosecutors asked him questions about the hammer and the blood that was on the hammer, he said that after the police came out, I believe after the police came out and searched his property or something, that he went back out to where he knew the body was and decided to take it out on the person responsible for all of this happening. So he said that he beat her after he had done taken her out of the house. He beat her with the hammer. Then why bring the hammer back to the house? It's not making sense. It's still not making sense because they didn't say that he had on the same clothes. If you remember, I said the clothes that was in the trash bin was wrapped up, had the hammer wrapped inside of it. And there was blood on the pants. So he took those clothes off the same day he used the hammer. Let me say, that's what I believe, that the same day he used the hammer is the day that he had those clothes on. That's what I believe. Are you trying to say? And another thing, the police can refute if he says he had the same clothes on or whatever the case. Because granted, yeah, the blood could have been the blood could have been spattered during the time he was beating his wife. That could have happened maybe. So are you trying to say you took those clothes off, threw them in the trash bin, then took the hammer on a different day to go bash your dead wife's head or bash her body or whatever you did, brought the hammer back and wrapped the hammer in those clothes, those same clothes that you had on the night that the altercation took place? Is that what you're saying? Because this story doesn't make sense. The hammer was wrapped in the clothes. So in order for the police to find the hammer, they had to unravel the clothes, take the clothes out. He said he went back out and beat his wife with the hammer after the police searched his place and or interrogated him or whatever. It was after he spoke with the police that he took the hammer and went back out and used it against the person that he felt was responsible for all of this. And that's when he burned her body. So why bring the hammer back to the house? You brought the hammer back to the house to wrap it in the clothes? This is not making sense, because the police didn't come to question you or come to search your apartment, come to search the house until after the wife was reported missing. So she was already missing. Which means you had on different clothes when the police would have seen you. You had on different clothes. You didn't have on the same clothes. You had already disposed of those clothes. Are you trying to say that the hammer wasn't used when she went missing, but instead after the police came to question you? What? Shame on y'all if y'all believe that. He needs to go into further detail about that hammer, because if he's claiming self-defense and that story with the hammer he didn't even address until after he told his story to the jury and didn't mention the hammer, and it was brought up by the prosecution. Okay, what happened with this hammer though? Because this hammer had blood on it. Now on the spot, he had to come up with something. Well, I went back out there and that's where I used the hammer. Are you saying you went back and you wrapped the hammer up in the clothes on a different day? What are you saying? That's not making sense. That is not making sense. He went to too much trouble to hide what he did and refused to talk about it to police until they divulged what they had. All of this for self-defense. And if they had fought one time before, because they had fought before, that was self-defense too. But nobody died. It wasn't until after the situation happened with the taxes where he said he felt like she was getting over on him because she opened up another business and he didn't know about it. There's more to this story that you do not know. And he did not divulge. And he will not divulge it unless somebody else comes out with something that can refute what he said. Because he and his wife were the only ones present when this happened. And he made sure that the wife can't talk. The wife can't say anything. This was not self-defense. It was not. He made the choice to move her body. He made the choice to go to the store and buy gasoline cans, a shovel to dispose of her body. It's one thing to claim that you wanted to get the body out of the house so that the baby couldn't see it. It's another thing to desecrate her body and bury it so nobody can find it. You've lost your damn mind to come out here and claim self-defense after the investigation has finished. And now you have all the evidence they have so you can build your story. Because that's exactly what he did. There are missing pieces to this. This is not the entire story. And if you listen to him, he's only giving you information about what you've given information on. He killed his wife. He killed her. It was not self-defense. He killed her. There were too many things that led up to this. And his strategic move of not saying anything to the police and instead waiting until the trial, that was strategically done. He had to come up with a story. He had to. He had to come up with a story other than the truth. Because you have to remember, it is about protecting himself. He's not going to give you any details outside of what you know. But that story he gave, it does not make sense. It does not make sense to me. It does not make sense to me. Y'all watch this story and y'all tell me what y'all think, but it does not make sense. This was not self-defense. The story he gave was only after the investigation wrapped and they had to turn their evidence over to the defense. And he's able to read everything that's being brought against him. And you think he can't come up with a story? Because that's exactly what he did. But the hammer in this situation, what he said does not make sense. What he said about the hammer doesn't make sense to me. Y'all tell me what y'all think.